Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday worship service. I am Nancy Nelson, and I will be one of your celebrants this morning. I'm a longtime member of this church and a member of the worship committee. It's a role that has given me many opportunities to learn, and my biggest lesson has been how important and powerful our Sunday morning times together are. Today, I hope, will not be an exception, but I do promise it will be different. Today, a team of us, staff and volunteers, are stepping in to be the voice of our Reverend Elizabeth Stevens, as illness is keeping her at home and resting. We are glad she is taking care of herself and look forward to having her back soon. Today is a reminder that church is something that we create together.
My name is Catherine Clancy, Cat. I'm a little froggy today. It seems to come and go, but my throat doesn't hurt. I've been a member of this church since 2017, and I'm currently on the board. This church centers me, and it gives me opportunities to help in the broader community.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam Welsh. I'm the music director here. I started in 2019 as the accompanist. Whoa. And then now I occasionally mess up the sound system. And this community has become very, very important to me and my family, not just as a job, but as a place to connect and be with other people. So I'd like to extend a special welcome today to all of those who are joining us for the first time. We're very glad you're here. If you've come in person, you should have received a welcome packet with an information card in it. If you fill that out and drop it in the offering basket, we'll be in touch to support you in finding your way into our community. If you're joining us online, there's a link on our website to an electronic version of that same card. Our welcoming committee members have yellow name tags, and they can answer any of your questions or point you towards additional information. So whether you're new or not, please consider staying for coffee and conversation after the service, either downstairs in the fellowship hall or in the Zoom room. Now let's say our words of welcome together. Whether this is your first or your 1000th Sunday with us, whether you stroll, roll,
Zoom, ran, or danced in, we are glad you chose to join us. We are one people of many beliefs, identities, origins, sexualities, and genders. All are welcome here. Many of us have expressed appreciation of the ritual that we have developed where we connect to the people at home when we say hello across a technical divide that does not keep us apart. First, we're going to show the people joining us on Zoom. If you are at home, please turn on your camera and wave. Now, everybody in the sanctuary, it's our turn. Thank you. We do have a couple of announcements.
So on June 8th, 7 to 9 p.m., the music committee is going to sponsor an open mic coffee house. So this will take place down in the fellowship hall. So a few fun things to consider. It's going to be a 60s theme, so whatever that means to you, if you have any 60s decor that you'd like to share to enhance the experience, that would be awesome if you could bring it. If you want to participate and perform something or read something, just send me an email or find me or text me. I also sent out a Google Drive link, but I know a lot of people don't enjoy working with Google Drive, so I'm happy to facilitate that. So in previous iterations, this event was in public, so we had to do things like use good language and maybe not get too political. But we don't have those restrictions since it's just us. So you can bring your best not suitable for work content. We will have childcare so the kids don't have to be in there. And so I think we could have a lot of fun with it. And so it's going to be free. We're not going to do a fundraiser or anything like that, but Coffee, drip coffee will be free, but we'll have cappuccino drinks for sale as well as beer and wine. So that's the plan. And hopefully we'll see you there. And I know it's the tradition here to either not sign up or to sign up at the last possible minute. So if there's any way to avoid that, that would be awesome. We do have quite a number of people already signed up, and I know it's going to be great. And I think it'll be fun for all of us. And if anything, you'll get to hear me sing some Johnny Cash, which I'm really excited about. Okay, and then Archie's got an announcement.
Yes, I'm Archie George, and I've had the pleasure, I guess you could say, of keeping the records for the annual service auction. I'm delighted to say that we raised just over $11,000 this year, which exceeded expectation. A little bit of that is going to go directly to the navigators for the raft that I purchased personally. All the sign up, the list, the buyers and sellers are on the table downstairs. Be sure to look at your list critically and let me know if you have any questions or concerns. I checked yesterday and there is a panel or a drop-down menu list depending on which website to make your payments online for service auction, if you look at the donate page. And we'd appreciate those coming in so we don't have a revenue shortfall. Thank you.
Can I do a quick one, Nancy? I was told just before the service started that we have an array of fabulous and some very healthy treats for after church today.
Here end the announcements. We preface our services by acknowledging that our church was built on the ancestral homeland of the Nimipu, called the Nez Perce by the French-speaking traders, the Palouse and the Stichums, called the Coeur d'Alene. Let us pause and remember that we live on ground that is sacred, ground that was stolen, ground that cries out for justice and responsible stewardship. May our remembering help us find the courage to do our part to restore wholeness to the earth and all her peoples. Each week, we light a chalice, connecting ourselves to the Unitarian Universalist tradition and using a symbol that is used by people around the world. If you are at home and joining us on Zoom, we hope that you have a chalice, a candle, or even a lamp to light. Let's light our chalices together. And now together, in the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
We have introduced ourselves, honored the people who came before us, and made this time sacred with the lighting of chalices. Let's breathe in deeply together and relax and release together. There is so much of life to share, the celebrations, the losses, the everyday, every week habits that we might call rituals when we do them together. Are you starting to feel it, the togetherness? What is it like to share this time with these people? Is it different feelings all at once? Let's peek ahead to the book we'll share with the kids in a minute. It's titled The Rhino Suit. I promise it won't spoil the evening, even if it is the ending. Coulter Jackson wrote, "Then she opened her heart wide and let the feelings all in, because the more you let in, the bigger the world becomes." I wonder what comes after the dot to dot. Let's celebrate being here together by singing together. Opening hymn number 361, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. Having told you the almost ending of the book, I think we'd better hear all of this very, very good book. Children and anyone who would like to join them are invited to come forward and join Ryan Ury, our Assistant Family Ministries Director.
Now let's take a moment to engage in the practice of generosity together. For those of you able to make a financial contribution, the logistics are on your screen. We typically give away all the cash from our Sunday offering to local charities whose missions align with our values, a program called the Month of Sundays. This month, the recipient is Weekend Food for Kids, whose mission is to provide child-friendly food on the weekends during the summer months when the Moscow School District programs don't provide food. Our church works alongside St. Mark's Episcopal to shop for the food, pack the bags, and distribute the food to children. To donate, please indicate Month of Sundays on your check from the online drop-down menu. In the spirit of love and for the continuing work of the church, we will now take some time to practice generosity together.
Thank you, Alex. We have
Sorry. Is it time to start, or did you want to?
I was going to introduce.
You're going to introduce the start.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have the privilege today of welcoming people into our community, people who have chosen to identify publicly as a member of this church. So I know this is something that Elizabeth loves to do, but it's something that we felt that this is something that we can do together. So I would like to ask Michael Jennings, representing our board, and Elizabeth Berlinger, the newcomer committee, to come on up, and Trish, and Evelyn, and Simon.
Okay. In our tradition, it's significant that we welcome anyone and everyone who would like to be part of our community. There's no test, there's no need to pre-qualify, no credit check. If you want to be a part of what we are creating together, you can be. When you know that this is our spiritual home, when we know that this is our spiritual home, the place where we belong, some of us choose to officially join. People take many different paths to becoming members of the church. Some join quite soon after they arrive. Some people participate as friends of the congregation for months or years before deciding to join. Sometimes past members return and rejoin.
Joining this congregation signals a commitment to being on a spiritual journey that goes beneath the surfaces of life and a desire to share your journey with others. To join, all you have to do is sign the membership book. Then we will have some gifts for you. Meanwhile, we'll introduce you to the congregation.
Trish Hartzell. Trish is a professor emerita of microbiology and molecular biology. 45 years of her life summed up in 6 words. She was a foster parent for 23 years, as well as a lifelong activist and participant in issues related to women's rights, environment, sustainability, consumption, animal rights, evolution, and science. Trish served on the board of directors for Sustainability Board in Long Beach, California, where she established one of the oldest operating recycling centers in California. She also served on the boards of Planned Parenthood in Illinois, the Palouse Discovery Science in Pullman, and the Food Co-op here in Moscow. She finally put public access trails on her property. If you haven't hiked Penstemon Path out at Idler's Rest, you really should. She's trying to restore 20 acres of native prairie, is training to be an Idaho Master Forest Steward, and she loves music and dancing. Evelyn Simon. Born near Montreal, Canada, to German immigrant parents, Evelyn grew up in Northern California and moved to Idaho in 1990 with her son. She retired from the Human Resources with the National Park Service and the Navy ROTC of the University of Idaho. Evelyn lives in Moscow with her husband, Phil Shin. They enjoy spending time together with their granddaughter, Clover, and her parents, studying bumblebees and gardening for wildlife. And I get to introduce Phil Shin, which means I get to apologize for mistaking your name. It's so good to welcome you, Phil. Phil lived in Lewiston most of his life, where he had a variety of jobs before settling for 30 years in sales and management. He was fortunate to have a second career after retirement, working as an urban forester and helping to develop parks in Lewiston. He moved to Moscow in 2019. Although not a hobby, Phil and Evelyn have spent nearly 3 years and counting fixing up a hoarder house. And it looks amazing from the outside.
And now we'll covenant with our new members.
You have accepted the responsibility of membership. You have found that you resonate with the ideals of Unitarian Universalism and that you want to commit to these ideals and live them.
The responsibility of becoming a member is a lifetime process. We are glad that you chose to be one with us. May you find the years ahead to be filled with the hope and vision that your membership promises.
May you find here both sustenance and fodder for growth. May you share your thoughts and your stories that the community might be enriched by the unique wisdom that you carry. And then together, let's say, we celebrate your membership as fellow seekers and companions on our spiritual journey. With you, we pledge to listen deeply and to respond with open hearts and minds. We welcome your full participation in our community.
We embrace membership in this community as both a gift and a commitment. May our strands of connection grow ever stronger, day by day and year by year, as we join with you in living lives of service.
And together? Together, we pledge to embody our unitarian universalist principles in our everyday lives, blessed by the freedom that encourages us to live with authenticity and integrity, and secure in the knowledge that we are members of a faith community that helps us to live our highest ideals. We commit to act on our behalf that all are worthy and all are welcome. And now we'll invite the new members to sign the book.
Thank you so much. Round of applause for our new. We often take time in our service to meditate, a calming, quieting time when we might look inward or simply rest. Today's meditation will have 3 parts. We'll begin with a poem, 3 Things by Jan Tadeo. Silence will follow, a time to be with just ourselves. Sam will bring us back together with music composed by Philip Glass. 3 things. The storm outside echoes the storm raging within my soul. So many people in need, so much pain, so much grief. Too many causes and campaigns fill my mailbox, sap my energy, beg for money. 3 things I must do. Only 3 things? You've got to be kidding. Which 3 do I choose? Books and letters, magnets and movies implore me to dance as if no one is watching, learn 7 habits, and make 4 agreements. Give generously, vote often, express myself. Yet hundreds, thousands, millions live with hunger and thirst, in poverty, enduring violence and disease. Did Mother Teresa, Martin, and Gandhi cry out with despair from the darkness of overwhelm? What three things did they choose? Three things we must do. Is it to act in kindness, serve justice, love God and your neighbor even as you love yourself? But where do I start? So much thoughtlessness, hatred and fear, too little justice, too much selfishness. Where is God? Who is my neighbor? Three things, 7 principles, 10 commandments, 12 steps. All numbers of things speak to us, and yet we must choose. We must choose to do something, so 3 things may be the right number, not too few, not too many. But which 3 things shall I do? Will you do? Here's an adage I've always liked. Don't just do something, stand there. Stand in the surf, or sit on a rock, or lay your body across the earthy loam. Be quiet. Very quiet. Do you hear it? That still small voice, the echo of your soul, reverberating with the call to your own true self to emerge. Then the calm within becomes the calm without. The storm blows over. The sun recovers its position of strength, and that glorious symbol of hope and unity emerges across the sky. At the end of this rainbow, a treasure, and 3 things you must do. Go outside yourself and know the needs of the world. Go within and discover your life-given gifts. Then arc yourself like a rainbow bridge between the 2 and create a more beautiful world. When I think about how I can help the world, my community, people nearby, I often begin with the nearby. There's a tangibility and a humanness that feels like this is the right thing to do. Tolstoy's 3 questions seem to apply very well. What is the best time to begin? Now. Who is the most important person? The person in front of you. What is the most important thing to do? The thing that is needed.
But here's the rub. How do you know what's needed when someone near you is suffering? Nearly 10 years ago, Reverend Elizabeth gave us some tools we needed to be the loving, helpful people we want to be. We've edited her homily in the light of the passage of time. We read this knowing that there has been additional pain and loss in our community and families, and we will always want to know how to be the best helpers we can be.
Reverend Elizabeth wrote, and I am going to read, and so when you hear I, please remember that is her voice and her words. These days, if you look at the internet, there's no shortage of self-help articles when it comes to what to say and what not to say to people who are going through something hard and heartbreaking. They come across my Facebook and Twitter feeds with some regularity. You know what? I always click through. Yes, they teach us about stuff at seminary, and yes, I've been doing ministry for a long time now, and yes, I have walked with people through a lot of different painful and shadowy valleys. Most of the time, I think I have been helpful, but occasionally I have put my foot in my mouth, and it didn't taste very good. More often, I've found myself speechless, feeling awkward and uncertain. I think it's probably a universal human experience to find ourselves tongue-tied or self-conscious when it comes to offering comfort and support to friends who are going through tough times. This is an area of potential growth for pretty much all of us. Now, I figure you all know how to do a Google search, so the approach I've taken today has been to interview a number of different people, friends, members of the congregation, folks who have weathered some unimaginably hard stuff, and folks who are in the thick of it. I asked them each 2 questions. What did people say or do that was helpful? And what did people say or do that was not? These conversations, some of them happened in person, and some over email, and some are the most precious and generous gifts I've ever been given. They were tender and tearful, and sometimes funny, and above all, holy. I share them with you in that spirit.
Because tomorrow is Memorial Day, I'd like to begin by sharing some comments from the widow of a soldier who was killed in Iraq. A heartbreaking meme is going around these days with a mother and baby sitting by a gravestone in a military cemetery. The caption reads, "Just in case you thought Memorial Day was an excuse to get drunk and cook out." A war widow I've corresponded with left her UU church, not this one, in a large part because she felt unwelcome in a congregation with so many committed peace activists. It was hard for her to not take the talk about opposing the war personally. After she shared the news of her husband's death, a number of people responded with intense diatribes against the war. She found that painful and awkward. She said she felt simultaneously like a pariah and a cause célèbre. She said it helped when people simply acknowledged her loss. She was grateful to the people who brought her meals, to the family who offered to babysit her kids once a week so she could have some alone time. She was especially appreciative of the guys who stepped in and helped with home repair and yard work. She said it didn't help her to be reminded that her husband died a hero. She never liked being thanked for her sacrifices, though she knew this brought comfort to some. She shared that most of her support came from the community of military spouses, although sometimes that got awkward because of her different religious beliefs. Her UU church should have been there for her. That's me talking, not her. Or that's Elizabeth talking, not me, not her. Someone for whom this UU church was present and supportive is Kathy LaFortune, whose blog, The Wacky Widow, I recommend highly. Some of you will remember her husband, Jim, who died in 2010 after a long battle with brain cancer. These are excerpts from her blog.
Many people visit this blog and enter my grief for a bit. The deer in the headlights look when I run into someone in town tells me they remember and are sad with or for me for a few minutes. Perhaps anniversaries of the day, the year will continue to remind folks, but you all get to visit and then leave. You are all tourists in my grief. I live here. Someone asked me recently if I was better. Better than what? Am I better than I was in those first stages when something as simple as a song or a smell could reduce me to racking sobs on my kitchen floor? Am I better than the completely numb person who went skiing in the Wallowas one winter and knew that if I fell, I had no adrenaline left to self-rescue? Am I better than the work week that exhausted me, but I dreaded the unstructured time on the weekends even more? Am I better than the girl who could not sleep and to do so would tuck a pillow behind my back just to fill up the bed? If those are the questions, then yes, I am better. Kathy was describing the fundamental inadequacies of our understanding. How can we know what to say when we can only imagine what life is like for a person? Grief has a rhythm to it. Sometimes you want sympathy. Sometimes you want support and encouragement. Sometimes you want a hug, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want people to distract you. Sometimes you just want to go get the damn groceries.
We on the outside can't know where in the dance of grief the person might be. So we have to try to follow their lead, look for subtle cues, and listen for the music they are dancing to in the moment. If their dance card is filled up, or they are heading to the snack table and just want a break, we need to step back and respect that. Constant is key in comforting people, just as it is in romantic relationships. Losing a spouse is hard. It may be even harder to lose a child. Kathy's mom was Sue Allard, a longtime member of this church, who died after this sermon was given. Sue's daughter died in a tragic car accident when she was a young adult. Sue wrote, "Please don't avoid someone because you don't know what to say. Admit it. I'm so sorry, but words aren't enough. Ask if they would like to talk about the deceased. Send a card or a note. Recall something fun, helpful, or positive about the deceased. Offer to help in a specific way, or just do it unobtrusively. Mow the lawn, take it easy on the food, appetite isn't. If you ask, how are you doing, and they say, okay, don't deny it, but say something positive about their ability to cope or their strength. Don't hurry them through their grief. Still be there a few weeks after the crisis has passed. Avoid cliches such as time will heal. If the person can't accept hugs, they are great. If you don't know, ask. This is a tricky one. Give the giver some space if this is what they need or want. And if you're not sure, ask. Don't feel the griever is crazy. He or she is. Grief causes some intense feelings, and it is best to go with those feelings unless self-harm is concerned. Send a card or a note on death anniversaries. They never forget. Don't talk too much about how you coped with grief. Two griefs are not quite the same. Be gentle with sharing your religious beliefs. Sue actually received this comment, "Aren't you proud that Jesus asked your daughter to come home with him?" Reverend Elizabeth also spoke with Zoe Cooley, whose daughter was murdered by a serial killer. She echoed much of what Sue said. She took special comfort from hearing that at Thanksgiving dinner, her daughter Shauna had talked enthusiastically about plans to be home with her parents for Christmas. She also remembers a letter describing how 3 friends had lunch one day to discuss how to honor Shauna and feels especially grateful to a friend who calls her every year. In the not helpful category, Zoe had a particularly negative reaction to her death was God's will. She also didn't appreciate her daughter's boyfriend's mother phoning and wanting to comfort her at great length when she was drunk, apparently. This woman felt Zoe should be supporting and comforting her son, and even called one time and wanted her to be pleased that he had a new relationship.
This would be a good moment to review something I, Elizabeth, wrote about this year in the wrenching aftermath of the death of Carrie Grzbalski, The Circles of Caring. When something hard happens, the people who are closest to it are at the center of the circle. Then there are concentric circles of connection. In the first circle, close friends and family, say. In the next, co-workers and friendly acquaintances, then friends of family, friends of friends, community members, and so on. In the wake of a sad happening, we want to give support to those closer to the center and get support from those in the same circle or farther out. It is simply not fair to expect people to interrupt their grieving process in order to take care of folks who are less deeply impacted. Of course, death isn't the only tragedy we have to live with. I approached Kathy Bernard LaPointe because I remembered her tearing up as she described how this church supported her through her cancer treatment. She shared these words. For the most part, the people in my life, especially the people in our congregation, were warm and caring and tactful when I was sick. Some folks innately understand that a person in crisis, which is what going through cancer treatment is, craves normalcy above all else. I didn't want to talk about my diagnosis, possible treatments, whether I would wear a wig or not, or how I was feeling about all those things. Tom and I had to take deep dives into cancer land, but we didn't want to have to talk about it all the time as well. These things people said were the most helpful and had nothing to do with cancer. On the other hand, people, both friends and strangers, said things that should have never been uttered out loud, like, "Why do you think God is punishing you?" Or, "I hope Tom will be able to take care of the kids if the worst happens. I wonder if he will remarry. I bet you drank too much in college." This is such a good reminder for all of us to make sure our affairs are in order.
I didn't know there were so many things that people could say that were wrong. Peggy Jenkins shared with me a Facebook post from a friend who was facing cancer. In it, she asked people to stop saying they are sorry. What she wants is encouragement. She wants people to tell her she's got this, that she's strong, that it's all going to be okay. A friend of mine who also had breast cancer gave us weekly updates along with detailed descriptions of what she needed. This week, I need reassurance that I will get through. This week, I just want love and prayers. This week, I could use some funny cat videos. It made it easy to give her what she needed, and I so admired her ability to be clear in her requests. Mental illness is another one of those situations where we sometimes don't know what to say. So I also spoke to a church member who struggles with depression and anxiety. When I asked him my two questions, he said that it's less what people say and more how they are. He values people who are comfortable with him and accept him just the way he is. He finds it helpful when people are willing to spend time just doing stuff that don't have anything to do with his mental illness. In the category of not helpful, it's all in your head. Calm down. You're making more out of this than you need to. At least you don't have cancer. It could be worse.
From a woman who had a miscarriage, I heard that we should never say, "You're young, you can have another child," but that we should acknowledge her loss. From someone who survived a nasty divorce, I heard that regular check-ins and a non-judgmental ear are much appreciated, and introductions to potential new partners, not so much. Through it all, the unifying thread is that when you don't know what to say, don't run away. But don't impose your agenda, experiences, advice, or ideas on the person who is suffering either. When someone we know is going through tough times, our job is to be present, put their needs first, meet them where they are without judgment and with compassion. Acknowledge their loss. Remember that they feel out of control a lot of the time, so we need to let them be in control of the interaction as much as possible. If all else fails, if we really don't know what to say, we can always say, I have no words, but I love you, and I'm here for you, and I trust you to let me know how I can help. It may be that we shy away from people who are suffering because we're scared of saying the wrong thing. It may be that we shy away because we're scared of having to face our own grief. Sometimes it seems that we're all walking around carrying a bucket full of sadness and loss. We stay away from people we care about who are in pain because we're afraid the bucket will overflow. We need to remember that all water flows to the sea. It's healthier to let the grief flow through us and carry us along. The fact that we all know pain and grief and loss unites us, connects us, helps us remember that we're not alone. We've saved Elizabeth's ending paragraph for our benediction, but first let's sing together, Touch the Earth, Touch the Sky, hymn number 301.
You may be seated. Let's read our closing words together. They were written by Elizabeth Lerner McClay. So we are bound together, as drops of rain that find each other and build to become a track, a rivulet, a stream, a river, a sea. So we are drawn together. So we are fortunate to find each other. So we are bound together on this shared passage toward an unknown ocean and eternity. Join in our musical benediction. There is a love. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. Please join me in the words as we extinguish our flame. We extinguish the chalice, that it might lie gently in our hearts. May it light our paths as we leave this place. May it guide our way until we are together again.
Reverend Elizabeth always concludes her services with a spoken benediction, the last message of the service, the thoughts she wants us to carry into the world. This is the last paragraph of the homily we just listened to. May we respond to each other's pain with love, not fear. May we approach them skillfully and with open hearts. May we forgive ourselves freely if we wind up with shoelaces stuck in our teeth. May we reach out and reach out again and reach out again, knowing that these connections we make are just about the only things that help us when things are tough, knowing that these connections are what makes us human. Stay for coffee and come back next Sunday, where hopefully Elizabeth will be back.